everybody, and welcome to the Positively Disney Phone In Show. I'm Kimberly Bouchard, your host, and the author of the Positively Disney book series. Well, guys, I'm telling you, I'm having a pretty good time meeting all kinds of Star Wars folks, and I am just so excited, and I just can't wait for that book to come out. And I had a really fun experience that I will share with you a little bit later and introduce our guests in a moment. But I just wanted to welcome all my Facebook folks and my Twitch TV folks. And I wanted to say a special hello to Michael and Gina and my husband, Jacques, who's out of state again this week. Thanks for joining me, you guys. And thank you to my sponsor, Michelle McCune, over at Ears of Experience. She is an amazing, not only amazing human, but she offers the option to have text capacity to her. You can communicate to her within the parks or wherever you are on your vacation. She specializes with military families, special needs, and offers concierge services. She will put it all together for you. That's Michelle McCune. Her number is 732-735-1779 or MMCKEOWN at themouseexperts.com. This has been kind of an amazing last week for me. And have you guys ever had an unexpected conversation with a fellow Disney fan? So I was pulling up at an art store, just kind of scouting around for some paint for my son, and noticed these lovely flowers being planted by quite an older gentleman. And I commented, I said, that those are really nice flowers. And he noticed that I had Mickey and Minnie on my car. And we got to talking. And lo and behold, this fellow actually had met Walt when he was a little boy. He shook his hand when he was a really young boy, obviously. And apparently, Walt was just inside the gates, had some time to kill, and decided to do handshakes with the guests, greet the fellows and gents and ladies. And his father encouraged him to go up to shake his hand. He said he'll never forget that moment when he was just a little guy who was holding his hand up to shake Walt's hand, just in awe, because he did understand that that was Walt Disney himself. And then as we continued speaking, it was really funny because he actually came from a little place, an hour from where we moved from in Alberta. I thought, gosh, it's a small world out there. Another thing that was kind of neat this past weekend, my husband and I went to our very first meet and greet with the 501st. And if anybody is not too sure who the 501st are, they are the Lucasfilm sanctioned charity of all those folks that you see. If you see a stormtrooper, Darth Vader, or Jedi, or whoever dressed up at events, they most likely, I would say probably 99.9% sure that they are part of the 501st, that is a charitable organization. And I must say it was really, really neat to meet some of the folks that go out there and spend time with some of the little ones in the hospitals, or just go to various events in the name of charity. Something that I have had the good fortune to experience is a VIP tour quite a long time ago now. And I wish I had known about what to expect on VIP tours back when I had the privilege of partaking in one, because I sure would have done it differently and I sure would have done a lot more stuff. But I have a really special guest that will be on the show here momentarily, Chris Petescia, and he has done some amazing things that most of us only dream about. He's been privy to a lot of different private tours, VIP tours, and experiences with the Disney, just as part of the Disney family, both on the West Coast and the East Coast. And we're just about to get him on the line. Just want to say hi to Savannah and Stan. And we are getting ready to get Chris on the line here now. I can hear a phone ringing, and hopefully we will be through in just a moment. while I am waiting to get Chris on the line, of course, the big Star Wars celebration is this week, starting on Thursday out in Chicago. And I wish that I could have attended, but was not able to do that this year. And just want to wish you guys a wonderful time and safe journey. And I hope to see a lot of your posts. That would be lovely. So we're going to just give Chris another ring, and hopefully he realizes it's my show phone. Hi, Chris. It's Kimberly Bouchard. How are you?
Oh, hi. I almost completely forgot.
Oh
Okay.
dear, you're live. Oh my gosh, you
Oh,
know
great.
what? I actually had emailed you and I hadn't heard. I'm like, oh my gosh. I hope that this is gonna work. But are you good to go? Because you are live right now.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good to go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris, so much. I was just introducing folks, and as you've had some extraordinary VIP experiences as a super Disney fan, and I didn't really allude to anything else because I have had one VIP experience in my life, but you have had some amazing experiences. So, Chris, can you share some of your Disney experiences that most of us ordinary folks just don't do?
Yeah. Actually, so apologies once again. I was packing for celebration, which is super exciting.
Yes, I know.
Cool. Um, so yeah, I think it sort of, I've always been a fan, but it kind of got dialed up with some work we were able to do um, a couple of years ago in 2016 with Disney Parks. And it was sort of like it was a marketing effort for the coming year, and
Mhm.
they invited us down to work alongside them. And I had been several times. I was a fan, but not like this. So
Oh.
uh, yeah, the experience of it was sort of over the top because we were working with them during the day, but we got to stay down there and basically live at Walt Disney World for 5 weeks straight. So that's not like, oh, we came down and went home. It was like different resort every single week.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was sort of, yeah,
I didn't
it was
realize.
first of all, that's,
Yeah, I didn't realize you stayed in 5 different resorts. Which resorts did you stay in, Chris?
we started at Animal Kingdom Lodge,
Mm,
the Jumbo House.
yeah.
And then after that, it was the Grand Floridian, um, Boardwalk, um, then I think it was Contemporary next. Um, and then, forgetting, I've been to so many resorts at this point, I forget
Yeah.
which fifth was.
Yeah.
But
Polynesian
yeah,
possibly, or I'm trying to think another one that they
no.
might have put you in. Yeah, I've been in a few of those, not all of them, but continue on. So, wow, living
Yeah.
at Walt Disney World for 5 weeks. What a dream.
It was, yeah, and the funny thing was, it was a dream come true, but it's also very functional. We need to experience the guest experience and fully
Mhm.
understand it. And so we ate at different restaurants every night, from quick serve to some of their finer dining options, and which is amazing. That's I think it's an easy thing to sort of skip over some of the great dining options when you're rushing to hit fast passes and stuff during a visit, but having
Mhm.
5 weeks to explore it is sort of unprecedented. So
Yeah.
that was part of it. We were encouraged to go out for as many meals as possible, and then so we worked during the day, and that night we went to the parks and
Mm.
had a bit of a golden ticket, which I don't know how common that is, but it was more or less we were able to get on every ride we needed to, and so we did, and we closed down pretty much the parks every single night just because
You
because
must
you
have been.
have to.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm thinking you must have been exhausted after those 5 weeks because you're working hard and playing hard.
So you'd think so.
Oh, okay.
After the 5 weeks ended, it was actually a week before my birthday, and it's hard to leave Disney World in general because it's just such a great sort of
Yeah.
experience. But when you've been doing this kind of intense thing, like you know, I got back to LaGuardia because I was living in New York at the time, and I just
Mhm.
there's I think I might have described it to you, but it's almost like these layers of magic, and when you peel them away, even if it's like a soft peel, it still hurts. So like you're taking the Magic Express back to the airport, and it's like okay, well, we're still in Florida, Orlando's nice,
Mhm.
MCO is a pretty great airport, but it's not Disney.
Mhm.
You get on a plane, and it's a Delta we were flying with. It's a pretty good experience, but then you land in LaGuardia, and it's like the magic is like completely
Yeah.
gone at that point. And New
Yeah.
York is its own special magic, but it's not Disney sort of you're hyper aware of that
Two,
difference. So like
yeah,
it actually yeah
two kinds of magics
it's sort of
happening there. Yeah, yeah.
very different. Yeah, it's just magic for different types of life experiences. But like after
Right,
Disney magic for 5 weeks, it was kind of like, ouch, how do I go back to this? And
right.
so then I went back, of course, the next week. I did a day trip for my birthday because I'm like, I need this.
Right.
I
Yeah,
can't go withdraw from that kind of experience. But
sure.
so that was kind of like the start of it. It was, I don't know how many people, or even partners of theirs have gotten to do that kind of thing. It was a
Mm.
pretty special concept, and that'll ruin you. And then that's kind of dialed up our fandom. So that,
Ruined you in
you
a good
know,
way.
oh yeah, I mean it's the best kind of ruin.
Yeah.
Like it's the privilege of Disney ruin.
Yeah, for
So
sure. So tell us
uh,
some of the because I know that I'll leave the VIP tours towards the end, but you've actually visited a couple of locations that most of us don't visit. So do you want to share those with us? Do you know what I'm talking about, Chris? The first two that we had talked about,
yeah,
the
let's
archives,
see. I think
yeah, yeah, the library and the
yeah.
archives.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. So continuing some work with Disney Parks, we were in Glendale, and they have this sort of library, and the archives are just incredible. But in Glendale specifically, they have this library where it's got pieces of the archives and stuff that they pulled from the archives for specific research
Oh,
projects. So
okay.
anytime you go there, and it's supposed to be only accessible to cast, but I guess we're allowed because of we were working on these projects, and
Okay.
so they have these sort of like temporary exhibits that are not exhibits for public, but are set up just for whoever's researching whatever project. So
Mm.
um, very curious about some of the stuff I saw at the time. Who was like, oh, I wonder why that is pulled out.
Right.
And but yeah, it's sort of like so if you were researching an attraction, let's say for a film, you might see everything related to that attraction, everything the Imagineers read to understand, like if it was Thunder Mountain,
Right.
history of railroads and what the West looks like. And it's really crazy because you kind of step into the mindset of the people who built,
Oh,
the world
fun.
and the land we love.
And that's in
And they had
that's in the library itself, which is I was getting all excited thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's a library, a Disney library," but we cannot access that. It's just for probably the Imagineers, artists and whatnot,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yes, exactly. So, um,
Fun.
yeah, it was pretty neat, and they had some of the original maps that were, and they're just casually, well, not casually, they're very well protected and presented,
Right.
but the librarian is intimately familiar with everything, so she's
Mm.
paging through Mary Blairs that are hanging in the sheets, and you're like, wait, is that that's an okay, that's an original painting, okay, and you're
Wow.
losing it a little bit. You have to be cool because it's
Yeah.
they're professionally,
Right, right. But I
but
can imagine, my gosh, the history in that place would have been absolutely outstanding to be within the walls of, right?
oh my gosh, yeah. And these are people who are authorities. Their job is to understand and know the history and the relevance of every piece they have out.
Mm.
And when you're talking to, these stewards of the brand who love it, of course, but they
Mhm.
can tell you things that are just anecdotal. It's like, who's looked at this and why did it matter and what is it doing out? And it's
Nice.
pretty special to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Um,
how does that different from the archives? Because you said some things were pulled out of the archives to go in the library. Because you went to the Disney archives as well, right?
Yeah, and the archives they sort of have rotating exhibits, and there's just so much. Like from what I understand, they've been cataloging it in multiple generations. It seems like either a librarian's dream or nightmare. I'm not quite sure
Mm.
um, which, but they have stuff where stuff was saved from as early as the original films, like Mary Poppins and whatnot, and they've had
Nice.
to sort of catalog and photograph it in over time keep records. And it used to
Mhm.
be, a rental card. Somebody more or less had, it was almost like a library, the archives as well, where they needed it for some promotional thing and they brought it out. And, but, nowadays everything is saved. So the
Right.
archives are this perpetually scaling, sort of exhibit that have different areas of organization that whoever's in
Mm.
charge now has to sort of
Uh,
look after. And so,
it's
I'm
really
sorry.
interesting because years ago, I know a lot of the animators could just go down there and take stuff out and take it home for the
Yeah,
weekend. Can you imagine? That's mind-boggling. And then, of course, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't believe.
yeah.
They couldn't let something like that leave. That's pretty precious. Now, please, Chris, can you share some of your VIP experiences because you have had some amazing ones and some unexpected ones, and you've had things on both coasts. How cool is that?
Yeah. Let's see. We've done some cool stuff. So there's been the VIP tours, which we can talk about in a sec. One of the coolest things I think I've ever done was we were researching and working on marketing for Pandora.
Mhm.
And D23 had this event where they were inviting a select. Well, I mean, they invited the members of D23, but very few got through. I can imagine what happened to that website at that moment. But I was lucky enough to be sort of a part of this experience where you went to Pandora. It was just us basically, and Joe Rohde, who was the lead Imagineer on that project, who was
Mm.
sort of amazingly balancing that and the rebrand for Guardians of the Tower Terror out west. And
Mm.
so he took a day out of his very tight schedule at that point to tour around. And like, I think that was the most special thing, aside from previewing the land early and, having no lines. It was,
Right.
it's not even a soft opening at that point. It was just,
Right.
yeah, this is Flight of Passage and here's everything about it. And like the only time you
Yeah.
could probably casually stroll through the line queue, without waiting 6 hours in it or whatever it is these days.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it was more the fact that this he's an amazing storyteller, and everything he I think infused into the project is deep, meaningful narrative. And so we
Mm.
heard and learned things that that are there, small little details that really matter for sort of the depth of story of that land that you would
Mm.
never really probably even pick up on,
Mm.
and just it's sort of incredible things. And he's like, I want people to touch this and smell this, and
Mm.
anecdotes about the sounds you hear, the predators and the prey, the sort of the natural ecosystem of Pandora changes throughout the day. And
Mhm.
they brought in experts who were biologists to tell them what they were hearing. Like, I don't know what animal it is, but it
Oh,
sounds like a predator. I was
yeah.
like, they validated like their entire, it was just crazy things that like the level of detail they went into is the stuff that most people will never even know of, and they
Right.
did it with such purposeful design that it was kind of incredible. So that was
Mm. Wow. Nice.
D23 was amazing to do that.
Mhm.
But then so we got kind of fixated on these, like, what else is there, and
Mhm.
the VIP tours that Disney offers are pretty incredible.
Mhm.
And it's for two reasons. So, A, it's, it'll spoil you because you don't wait in lines. You have the most knowledgeable guides.
Mhm.
The tour guides that they pull for are from guest services, and from a lot of them work in the attraction. So they'll have, it's almost
Oh,
worth doing just for the stories alone. Um,
right. Oh,
and
yeah.
so, yeah,
Can you share a story or two that maybe you didn't know before or hadn't anticipated that maybe would come to mind immediately on one of your tours?
let's see. A lot of it, I'm trying to think. A lot of it has to do with like little details that they'll point out that you miss.
Okay.
Tour guides are the best people to ride, like Toy Story Mania with, because they'll tell you exactly how to get the high scores. They do it day in day out.
Oh,
um,
yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to see. A lot of it has to do with sort of like people who have come through, and when things have maybe not gone right. It's stuff that they probably it's more candid.
Yeah, that's
um,
fine, that's fine. I
and
just thought something might have struck you
yeah.
or whatever, but, so was your first VIP tour, was this in Walt Disney World or Disneyland?
The first one was actually in Disneyland, which
Oh,
is not
okay.
our home resort, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that was pretty magical. It was our guy was named Terry, and the great thing is because the parks between the coasts work very differently, different systems and everything else, but they obviously try to deliver the same very special experience, especially
Mhm.
for their VIP guides.
Mhm.
But he sort of, as we were walking, was just very casual, like, what are you guys into? And we found out very quickly we're obviously massive Star Wars fans, and So, as we're rolling up to certain areas, he was able to orchestrate things in advance. Like he'd be casually texting, and it was, they have a home base for in
Oh,
Disneyland where they have for like a control center, and they go, oh yeah, we have somebody, so they let them know and they expect that. So like without sort of skipping a beat, he's telling stories and firing off texts or making quick calls, and things are being arranged as we're walking, and
oh,
we've kind of,
nice.
which is super cool because he'll know,
Hmm.
is Darth Vader in for a meet and greet at launch bay,
Yeah,
or is he taking a break, and can we get ahead of that line maybe, to make,
nice.
well, their job is to help you see as much as you can as quickly as you can and sort of get your version of the complete Disney experience that day.
Hmm. That's something I'm debating on doing with my family. And did you stay at Disneyland or did you go to California Adventure as well? Because I think you have it like it's a 7 hour experience, VIP
Yeah,
experience, right? Yeah. So did you do both parks or?
yeah. We did both parks.
You did.
The best way, if you're a completionist, to do both parks is probably the only way at this point is really
Hmm.
to take advantage of the guide.
Right.
So we kind of bounced back and forth,
Okay.
and it was never. It's weird because they do it with such grace. Like you would expect it to be chaotic, even with sort of the equivalent of walking to the front of the line. But it's not. You're going back and forth, and by the end of it, we were just thrilled. We had gotten everything we wanted to do. We had extra time, so we went on Guardians again, and then Gary dropped us off at the Lamplight Lounge because they can help make dining reservations that are sort of not available because of overbooking. I believe they reserve a couple seats at every restaurant just in case,
Mm,
with the
right.
VIP boarding
Oh,
room.
okay. So yeah, and I mean, 7 hours. So did you get them some information ahead of time what you wanted to do, and then you kind of evolved as you were going along, or how did that work?
We didn't. I was actually a little bit nervous about that because I'm like, oh, there's so many things you want to do. Like,
Yeah.
and so I called and they're like, no, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out when you talk to them.
Oh,
And it was
okay.
not a problem. Actually.
Oh, cool.
I think they're so knowledgeable, and so if you scale that up for Disney World as well, you've got 4 parks, and
Yeah.
there's some driving. It's like obviously a huge plot of land, and but
Mm-hmm.
they know exactly how to do and maximize the most. And
Yeah.
there's one of the cool things about that is they make sure you're never thirsty, never hungry. They realize that some people like us want to just go,
Right,
and
yeah.
if we get
That'd be
over
me too.
there.
It's like, you know what, I got you for 7 hours, we were gonna go to the very last minute nonstop. Who's gonna eat, during that time, right?
Right. I mean, food is a nicety, but it's not.
Not necessary,
We're doing
yeah.
this thing for
Yeah,
right. We can eat
yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah.
But it is important to keep fueling yourself, especially when you're kind of like you may not realize how hot it is, and you might get
Right.
a little bit thirsty, and your
Mhm,
energy might dip a little bit. So they tend to have snacks waiting when you switch parks, which is great.
mhm.
Um, and of course, anytime you want to stop, they're like, yeah, absolutely, let's stop. Or and they mysteriously, like, they'll go on rides with you for the most part, but occasionally they'll need to duck out to maybe eat or get something to drink as well,
Right,
while
yeah.
you're on it back.
Yeah.
So, so
They'll get I would imagine they'd be, just as tired, if not maybe more so, with folks like you and our family that, just we go, 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 like, nonstop. That makes me smile.
yeah,
It's really neat, when we did our VIP tour, it was at Walt Disney World, and we went I think it was just between Epcot and Magic Kingdom being taken by van, the back road, obviously. And
yeah.
isn't it fun to just walk through a door and all of a sudden you're in the middle of Epcot or you're in the middle of Magic Kingdom? It's wild, isn't it?
It's a different sort of magic because it doesn't spoil it, but you're like kind of
Exactly.
astounded. You're like, oh wow, this is so well thought out,
I
and you knew it
know.
was, but then you
Yeah.
start seeing it, and you're
Yeah.
like,
I know. I was thinking about like the Alice in Wonderland moment, you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of in your world and then it's all of a sudden you're dropped into this magical world.
yeah.
So when you were on your VIP tour at the wonderful world of Walt Disney World, did you hit all 4 parks? Because that would be quite a tall order, I would think, but I'm not sure if you managed to do it.
Yeah,
Did you?
so the first tour we did was I did it with a group of 20. So we had 2 guides, and they were like super supportive, but they're like, I don't know, it's a big group. We'll try to hit all 4.
Mm.
And occasionally you cut a few corners, but we did it. We the most
Oh,
efficient, and they'll tell you this too. But the most efficient thing to do is basically we started in Pandora,
okay.
knocked that out, went over to Everest, and then hit Hollywood Studios and did, Toy Story Land and Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And then swung back to Magic Kingdom. Somehow hit all of the things that everybody wanted to. Because that's, I think, there's walking at Magic Kingdom is a little bit less efficient to drive from spot to spot, but
Right.
they kind of like, because of their access, they made it happen. And we kind of figured, what, that would be the end of it. They're like, you know what, we have time to get you, if you want, we can walk you on to Soarin', which
Oh,
is sort of
nice.
our gateway. And they did. They got 20 of us onto it, and almost down to the minute. Like they're pretty hard about the being respectful of the 7 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And we were
Wow.
basically, we tagged our Magic bands and walked in more or less the moment the hour 7 struck,
Yeah.
and they were phenomenal. So
That is so neat. I mean, I'm thinking 20 people, you've got 20 different let's just say bathroom breaks you might have to get, no, not really, but I mean, there's a lot of things to
no,
consider, right?
yeah. I don't understand how it happened. Looking back on it, I'm sort of baffled because like we have trouble with, a small family sometimes,
Yeah.
like everybody on the same page with what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And somehow they're just masters of this. They're like, all
Yeah.
right, I think they just know by way of data and volume, right? People need
Yeah.
to have a restroom break at this point and
Yeah.
maybe force a snack at this point, but they
Right.
nailed it. And we had a pretty good age range in our group too. There's a bunch of alumni that went with me for that
Oh,
tour.
wow. Oh, nice. My goodness. So, what are some of the other things that you have experienced that um a lot of us wouldn't have experienced, Chris?
Oh, geez, let's see. I've been trying to think. I've been a guest of both of the Club 33s on either coast. I've been to both. I've gotten to see the Cinderella suite. We were not invited to stay overnight. That's for very special families. A lot of them. They're actually great about that. They kept that unpurchasable, which is fantastic. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
stay there unless you're invited, and that's a very quiet and special process that they use, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But we were able to go in and check it out for my daughter's third birthday.
So we've just lost. Hello, Chris. Are you there still? Chris, we've just lost you. I'm not sure what happened. Chris, did you hit the mute on your phone by any chance? Because we just lost you. We're going to just give you a quick call back and see if we can get Chris on here. Isn't that fascinating to be able to do some of these tours that he's talking about that we can? Some you can't, but some things that he did. Oh, hey, Chris, we
Okay.
we lost you there for a moment. So
Yeah, sorry about that.
that's okay. So yeah, so your daughter's birthday, you had a third birthday. That's where we lost you.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we did the Disney Valley Boutique, and
Mm,
we had dinner reservations for Cinderella's Royal Table, which is fantastic. It's sort of a special experience, especially for her birthday and
yeah.
newly anointed princess. So,
Right. Yeah.
um, but yeah, in between that, there was an arrangement for us to our surprise, to visit the Cinderella suite, and that was incredible.
Yeah. My
It was
gosh.
just it's stunningly beautiful. It's a very, very special experience, and it's
Mm.
I'm sure it is the most incredible place to stay that you can't stay
Right.
once you're invited.
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. I had a guest on that actually had stayed there, and it
Wow,
was yeah, he basically stayed up all night. I guess at one point, since we're talking about the Cinderella suite, they take you out in your pajamas and you go around the park for some photos. Isn't that fun? I can't
that's awesome.
I know. And then they lock you in at night because of course they don't want you wandering about, while the park is closed and that for your own safety really. But yeah, I think that is there something in the suite that struck you? I'm just trying to think. I mean, I've never been in it. I actually have a key to the Cinderella suite in my podcast room here, which is super cool. But is it fairly high up? Because I'm always looking on the castle, during the fireworks show and that for the actual windows for the suite. But I mean, it's really hard to tell from the outside. So are you high up
Yeah,
or where are
you are
you?
pretty high up.
Oh, you
Yeah,
are? Okay.
you can see the windows from. I think the best view is sort of it's in front of the castle,
Okay.
which is an easy way to share the POV of it. But it's you can see it from the front of the castle. The windows are not great in terms of just viewing the park, because I always kind of dreamed of like staying there on Halloween and watching them turn over for Christmas on the 31st. Would be kind of a dream. But I'm not
Oh
even
my
sure if you
gosh,
could
yeah.
see it from there.
Right.
But there are a couple windows, and they're more made to let in light than I think to let people sort of have the grandest panoramic view of Walt Disney World. But
Mm.
um, they're
Mm.
stained glass windows. So if you see stained glass windows, probably about 2/3 of the way up the castle before the vanishing perspective really takes hold.
Okay.
That's the suite.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Nice.
and there's all kinds of like little nods in there. There's special books, and the idea is that it's Cinderella's, and so you find things that she would have had there for you. You're her guest, and so it's her personal stuff. So
Mhm. Mhm.
of course there's a glass slipper sort of on display, and everything is a little bit more magical. So the bathtub has a sort of fiber optic ceiling where it's always sort of sparkling
Oh,
like a night sky, um,
wow.
which is really pretty. And the fireplace has fireworks instead of fire. And
Oh, makes sense. You
yeah,
you can't really light a fire in there, I'm sure, for safety reasons. I'm sure your
yeah.
daughter must have been absolutely in awe to be in Cinderella's castle.
Well,
Cinder
the funny thing is, like, she was excited. I don't think she like at some point later in life she'll probably appreciate it
Oh,
more. At that
yeah.
point, she's like, "Oh yeah, this is Cinderella's. That's cool. Like, of course I would come here because it's Disney."
It's probably
Not
mom and
realizing,
dad then that were over the moon with that one, right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, she was having a great time, and she was
Yeah.
into the narrative and asking, "Is this where Cinderella does this? Is this where she washes her hands?" And
Oh,
stuff like that. But
fun.
it was just sort of like, well, of course, this is where Cinderella lives, and us were
Yeah.
like, wow, this is pretty special.
How long did they take how long was the tour? Just out of curiosity.
It was open ended. It was basically
Oh,
I couldn't tell you if we were there for 30 minutes or probably not more than an hour. But it was
okay.
sort of like they were not pressing us. It was sort of just look around and enjoy,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it was just super special.
That's so neat. And now I wanted you to share about the little experience you had underneath the Epcot ball, because actually my husband was in there too, not at the same time you were, but it was really kind of neat to find out that there was actually a lounge there, and how you
Yeah,
got some folks. Yeah, I think that's a really fun story if you want to share that with us.
sure. In the process of sort of setting up this alumni event that we did the two tours for,
Hmm.
we found out that you can actually go into and use these spaces. And the one at the bottom of Spaceship Earth, I just never even noticed, because there's always there's the Spaceship Earth ball, and then
Right.
there's during festivals they'll have Figment out the back towards World Showcase or something
Hmm.
to sort of like look at. But there's a whole window view that looks over the fountains and towards the World Showcase that I had never even like was aware of until we rented it. And
Oh.
you can do private events there, and we did a breakfast and sort of a showing of some slides and a sort of discussion. But you can do cocktail hours there, and so it's like rentable from morning till night. And
Wow.
they through this process we found out there's a ton of spots all around Disney parks like this.
Oh,
The spot above the Frozen ride at the Norwegian or the
Norway Pavilion. Hmm.
yeah, Norway Pavilion, which is now Arendelle,
Yeah.
can be rented. The Test Track, I believe, has one, and there's dozens of them, and it's just
Ah,
really neat to think that they actually planned for this. And I had no idea until we did it. And you're
wow.
looking out, and you're like, people are coming through the parks, and you get in before opening, so you're watching a sort of surge of people heading
Right.
towards the World Showcase, maybe,
Yeah.
and cutting left towards uh, the countries of the ride. So
Right.
um,
Was that
yeah,
lounge,
that was
was
neat.
that like sort of street level, or were you up I'm just trying to kind of I'm going to
Yeah.
be looking at that building really closely the next time I'm there and take a peek to see where's that lounge. So you've got windows that you can see out of it. So I'm just trying to think, like, were you on like was it ground level, or was it up a little higher,
It was,
or
yeah, it was raised up. I think if
oh,
you
okay.
were to walk past Bishop Earth and you were midway between, like, you were near the pin trading
Right.
stand,
Mhm.
right before the fountains, and you look back, you would notice it. All of a sudden, like this thing you never noticed is there.
Mm,
And it's about a level up because you walk up a set of stairs, or I think there's an elevator as well.
mm-hmm.
And so, like, the entrance to it is actually the exit of Spaceship Earth, on the, I guess it's probably the east side. And so if you were coming out of the sort of area where you see your photos and you say the interaction
Right.
in space,
Yeah.
there's a very subtle door that you would have no reason to even look at on your way out, to
Yeah.
your next event. And that's how you get in there. They sort of take
Oh,
you in the
fun.
exit, and then very nondescript door.
I have one of the people watching Stan Solo, lovely human from Canada, on his way to a celebration himself on Wednesday. He's
Amazing.
asking, yeah, do you get a special pin like when you do the Keys to the Kingdom tour or walking in Walt's footsteps tour when you do a VIP tour? Do you get a special commemorative anything or
You do not.
you don't? Okay.
Did a 7 hours of intense memory,
Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Probably wiped after that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
no,
All right. Oh
that's
my
a good
gosh.
question.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I just think it's absolutely wonderful because I don't know. I mean, we've been going to Walt Disney World for many, many years, and I'm still learning new things about these tours and that from guests that call on or guests that I've had on, and it's something that I really want to look into. And I'll never forget. They had the tour on the the what are those called, I think they said segways, I think, is that what they're called, and they had them in
Yeah.
Epcot for years and years, and we thought, okay, well, when our son finally turned 16, we'll go on. Well, but oh yeah, by the time we got to be 16, they didn't offer them anymore, and I thought that just would have been really
Huh.
fun. I don't know, have you ever been on one of those tours before, or
I have not. No,
no? Okay.
I missed that as
Yeah, you
well.
missed that too. Yeah. Well, I know that the other tour that we did recently was the Keys to the Kingdom tour, which was so
Phenomenal.
fantastic. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And we waited. Actually, we waited 11 years for that one because when we wanted to get on, I mean, we don't live locally, but when we wanted to get onto it, it was all booked up. Like you have to book way in advance for some of those tours, if depending on the time of year. And something that worked out for us is, finally when we went back, several months later, we got on there. But it was just really, really just so magical. It was so, so magical, to hear and learn about, and you're exactly right, Chris, about those little details that we kind of get into this mode. We're all in this kind of Disney mode, and then all of a sudden it's like these little things that you never really thought about or knew about, and now next time you go back after you finding out about these things from these cast members doing the tours, it's really fun to see, especially the perspective of everything. That's been a really fascinating thing for me as well. Hello, hello. Hi. Oh my gosh, Chris, I think we've lost you again for some reason. We'll get you on real quickly to say goodbye. But Stan, you've done the Segway tour at Epcot. You did, as well as Fort Wilderness. I'm trying to think of I wonder what kind of tour is at Fort Wilderness, Stan. We'll have to, Stan, if you can stand by, I'd love to hear about your, or maybe we'll leave that for another time, the Fort Wilderness tour, because I've done some things at Fort Wilderness too, and that's just kind of one of those little hidden gems that you can find in a very quiet area. But we're going to see. You know what, I suspect we're going to just try Chris again, but I'm wondering if his phone ended up dying on us. So we're going to just give Chris one more quick call to see if he's around, and otherwise. Oh, Chris, there you are again.
Yeah.
Is your
Trying
I
to get
know.
the storms.
You know what, Elder, you've got storms, do you? Oh
Yeah,
my
we're
gosh.
right next to Magic Kingdom basically, and we're It's been
Ah.
stormy. Apologies.
Oh my goodness. No, that's okay. I wasn't sure if your phone just died or something on us, but I just thought we'd quite finish up here in a
Yeah.
moment. But I just really think that you have had some amazing experiences. I don't think you ever thought that would happen, did you? When you were,
No, no.
yeah,
Yeah, honestly, it's been circumstance. You meet people, and a lot of it just comes from cast members. You meet cast members through doing these experiences, and meet
right.
more and develop relationships, and just
Yeah,
it's sort of a unexpected serendipitous snowballing of just excitement and fandom and just wonderful people.
yeah.
Um,
I,
and
I
so
I
yeah,
know I loved it. I mean, as I said, when we lost you, is that I really
right,
that's okay. I really love taking all those little pieces of information and trivia and details that I've learned, from the tour, and then going, of course, going back into the park and say, oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, that's right. And it's really fun to find these things out. A lot of people think
yeah.
it spoils the magic, but I think it enhances it. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think so because a lot of it's just fascination. So like, and the guys themselves, like I said, they're so knowledgeable. You
Mhm.
could do a tour every day for a year and probably learn something new from new guys.
Right, yeah.
But like, they one of the guys I had picked up on the fact that I was just fascinated with like the experience of Disney and logistics and what it takes to make this happen seamlessly.
Mhm.
And so when we're on the way into Animal Kingdom, he's pointing out to me like, oh, well, there's our our replica plant farm, and basically
Oh,
the storm knocks over an iconic tree on in the plaza or something. Like they have one grown to look just like it, about the same size, and
yeah.
they don't want memories to be, different. It's a timeless place. It needs to sort of look the same, and
Right.
so they've got like a backup plant farm and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And you're like, wow, of course,
Yeah.
like that makes sense. But like that can sort of that's a consideration. I think every time I've done one of these, and I've done several now,
Mhm.
just sort of you get lost in this different sort of magic where it's
Mhm.
not the suspension of belief. It's sort of a disbelief into itself.
Mhm. I remember seeing the plant farm, and I remember being from Canada and seeing the Canadian Pavilion and Chateau Frontenac and the Bouchard Gardens and all that, how
Mm.
they keep the plants. They swap them out in they're not permanently planted there because they need to keep them a certain size. I mean, the massive ones, of course, are planted. They just keep them really trimmed to look young, but
Yeah.
I mean, it is the attention to detail that makes it magical, and when you return, it's the nostalgia of having that the same, right? So
Yeah.
what's next for you, Chris? What are you looking forward to in the not too distant future besides celebration, which I mean is going to be over the top. I really wish I could have gone, but at the parks, I should say.
Well, absolutely Galaxy's Edge. We're going to be there
Yeah.
opening day at Disneyland. I've got hotels booked, and we sort of plan this months in advance just in case. So we're
Mhm.
thoroughly covered. We're still
Awesome.
finding out if VIP guides can help sort of with some of the line issues. They're not
Mm,
quite sure yet because I think this is so new.
right.
They've never done anything like this, so
Mhm.
they're trying to figure out how do we provide the best experience for every guest. And
Yeah.
um, so yeah, that is. I was losing sleep over it until like I was sure that we had a hotel room, and then they announced the dates, and I was like, okay, we're good.
Mm.
So
Gosh, I'm just writing a story right now for the Star Wars book from one of the Imagineers that worked on Galaxy's Edge, and it's
wow.
just yeah, it's real. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I thought I mean, he never knew that he was I mean, that would have been a pipe dream, many years ago, and then things
Yeah.
how they came to fruition is quite fantastic, and his favorite thing to do now is just kind of walk through the park, through the land, I should say. He says as the sun is setting, and a lot of the site is quiet because people are going home, and just seeing the sun reflecting off the Millennium Falcon. And I
Oh my
just,
gosh.
yeah, oh
I'd
yeah.
cry. I'd be
Uh,
weeping.
oh, trust me, I was getting choked up listening to the interview again before I start the Star. I always re-listen to the interviews, and I was like, oh my God, I could just imagine it, that you are I mean, these are immersive experiences, but to actually live and breathe this kind of experience, I think is really going to be like no other. I can't imagine. I mean, we thought Pandora was bad, with lines. We actually got on before the park even opened. That was thank goodness for that, because there's no way I'd wait 4 hours in line.
Yeah.
I don't care how good the ride is. It's like I'm not waiting 4 hours in
Yeah.
line. I'll get up at 5 in the morning and get over there before everybody else. But it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And listen, thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your stories with us today. It's really been an eye opener and educational too, and it makes me look forward to the VIP experience that I'm hoping to do with my family at Disneyland, since Walt Disney World, that's our go-to park, and we've not
Yeah.
all had a chance to spend any time at Disneyland. So I think that's going to be a good way of doing it.
You know what? I'm glad to hear that. And I think, what's special about Galaxy's Edge coming is that I think what I understand from all the cast members who I've had the privilege of meeting who actually met Walt or worked with him, this
Oh
is the
yeah.
sort of thing he would have wanted to see. It's like he never wanted things to be so precious that they didn't change and grow. And so I think from their words, he would have been very pleased with what they're doing.
I
So
think
I
so
can't
too.
wait.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too. I mean, that's so futuristic. And I mean, he really loved the idea of the space program. I mean, they were quite involved. Well, not quite, but I mean, they were involved some regards with NASA and back and forth. And, just with his interest. And I mean, this just is another world. It's just kind of that futuristic world that he didn't imagine. Thank goodness we had George Lucas do that for us, right? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, safe travels to
Thank you.
celebration. Have a great time. And again, thanks so much for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Okay. Yeah,
Take care.
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. So that is just a really kind of interesting take on some of those tours that you can do. And Stan, I look forward to hearing from you sometime, because of course I didn't do the Epcot tour, and not a lot of us didn't do that. And I know that I had tried one of those segways before, but holy cow, you really have to be in control, or you could go speeding on through before you know it. Anyways, I know that a number of you guys are packing and getting ready, and I'm going to say a good night. But thank you to Andrew and Lance also for joining me, and Jason. And I'm not sure if I missed anybody else. Nancy Gretzinger joined me tonight. So I just want to say, until next time, you guys be safe. Safe travels for you guys that are traveling. To all of you guys going to Celebration. And take care for now. We'll see you next week. Bye.